the previous records or whether they're just stuck with it. That's going to be quite an interesting area for this. But yeah, I think certainly in soccer, in football, and in other sports, in this country at least, and I'm sure in others, um, biological men will not be able to compete in women's sports.
Mm.
Women have fought for their own spaces, not just in sport, and this business over the last few years has taken them backwards. In terms of safe spaces, it's a big subject, not just a political subject. I don't think, in the sense that there are people in all ideologies on both sides of this debate. I do believe the majority take the view that we are expounding now, or certainly that I've just said, that it's not fair on women to
Mm.
have to compete against what are effectively men. So I
Mm.
think in football it will be the end of the debate. I can't really. I mean, there have been transgender women in men's sports. I believe I saw one in a team I watched last season. I won't say which one it was. And a very good footballer, and to all intents and purposes, a woman out there. But from what I read beforehand, it wasn't. It was a transgender person. Now we
Wow.
can say, yes, it wasn't a woman. It was a biological male identifying as a woman.
Mm.
So it's yeah, fraught with all sorts of points of view. But I would think this Supreme Court judgment will bring this to a conclusion.
Well, let's hope so. Jerome?
Okay. I'm just going to be brief on this. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
think the sport authorities need to work with the government to clarify this.
What?
Because we've been seeing lots of this happening in athletics, boxing, as Trevor said earlier on, and lots of other sports. So I think it's the time for the sport authorities, organizations, or the FAs, or whatever sport it's involved in this, to sit down and look at the how it affects others, like the female, like let's just say like the females, like a transgender male coming into the female team, the impacts and how it affects the other genders, like female themselves.
Yeah.
You understand? So I think they need to come to a round table and look at this properly and see if it's worth it.
All right. Okay. Now, is this before or after the Supreme Court judgment? I mean, after the court decision?
I think despite the Supreme Court judgment, you still see people trying to appeal, and
Right. Okay.
you know how this processes goes. They're not gonna allow it just go to rest like that. So I just think the authorities, if they can come together and just, okay, does this decision make sense? All right, yeah, they just uphold the decision.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I get your point in a way, because you're saying it's down to the sporting bodies or the authorities to make the final decision. Well, so Manchester City, against all odds, they are back to winning ways. What changed? What's changed, bro?
I saw the game last night.
Yeah.
And I was pleased. I'm not sure really why, but I was pleased that they scored that very late goal. Partly because I think, and it happens with a number of goalkeepers in the Premier League now, the time in the Premier League now, the time wasting, particularly of goalkeepers, when they're winning or drawing and they don't want to lose the game, and the time wasting is a real pain in football. And more often than not, the referee will simply add on the time, which, it can go against a team that is time wasting inevitably. And of course, the goalkeeper often gets booked and therefore risks a double booking of being sent off. And I just felt last night there was a lot of that by I can't think of his name, the Aston Villa goalkeeper. Martinez,
Martinez, yeah. Emilio
Martinez.
Yeah,
Martinez, yeah. And let's say he's a great goalkeeper. He was actually the World Cup winning goalkeeper, wasn't he, for Argentina? I mean, he is a fantastic goalkeeper. But I think his tactics can be very time wasting. And I say that, I mean, as a Palace supporter, one of our great players is our goalkeeper, Dean Henderson, who's also one of the England goalkeepers. He's a superb goalkeeper. He does also have this habit towards the end of a game, if Palace are in a reasonable position, of slightly waiting too long to take the goal kick, and occasionally he gets booked. But I don't think he overdoes it to that degree. But I felt last night they did. So there was kind of a sense of well, it serves you right that you conceded a goal right at the end. And it's actually interesting to see Pep Guardiola's reaction. I mean, I love watching him on the touchline because he's like a cartoon figure, the way he bounds down on the floor and then he kicks his bottle of water. I think I said before, he kicked it and it was aiming towards the then Leeds manager, Jesse Marsh, who was a bit of a tough guy. So as soon as he kicked it, Pep knew it was headed for Marsh, so he haired off after it, his coat flapping in the wind, to presumably apologise to the other manager. But he is a real character, and I thought last night, given the difficult situation they've had at Man City this season, I was impressed, is that the word? Surprised, but it's great to see Pep Guardiola, when they got that winning goal, he was absolutely, he erupted with joy, and he was down on the ground and up and all that. For someone after, 9-10 years with Man City, it might be about 8 years, to have such motivation, even though they've had a season having won 4 on the trot Premier Leagues, that this season has been less than good, although they should end up in the Champions League places, to see that desire still there is an example to everybody in any walk of life to maintain your motivation, to keep going, to never give up on your dreams. And I thought that was fabulous. But yeah, so I think Man City are sort of turning a bit of a corner. They're going to have to reinvent the team because De Bruyne